Second chances, as inevitable as death and taxes. And that's whether they're great or not. Case in point, can you tell me who led the Colts to a stirring OT victory over the Jags in their last game of 2024? That would be this then 39-year-old spring chicken Joe Flacco. He was only 2-4 in Indy, so they let him walk like the Jets and Browns before them. Besides, they had their own real spring chicken to develop, 23-year-old Anthony Richardson. But they needed competition for him in camp. Who? I know. How about Daniel Jones, who hadn't thrown 15 touchdowns since his rookie season and oversaw 85 turnovers in his 70 career games? Yet, today, Jones is named the starter in Indy. And what of old man Flacco? Well, Cleveland signed him up for a second time, and now he's been named their QB1. How does this happen? It's the NFL, that's how. In Indy, though, questions for Shane Steichen about their new QB2.
You know, we threw him into the fire early as a rookie and had some injuries and, been battling some injuries. And I think that's all part of the development, of his game. I think everyone's journey's different. And for the first time, this is an opportunity for him to sit and learn. He's 23 years old. And, if his number gets called at any point in the season, I believe he'll be ready to roll.
You just got to respect the decision. They feel like he's a better fit for the team, better fit for the outcome of us winning. So you just got to respect it and just keep working. That doesn't undermine any other work I've been putting in. It doesn't say that I haven't improved. I'm proud of the improvement I've made. Shane is also proud of that. So you just got to keep stacking on that and just keep getting better.
Obviously, I was excited. Excited for the opportunity, and as a competitor, you want to be on the field, and that's why you work. So I'm excited and looking forward to getting out there. I think we have a good football team, and we put in a lot of work.
Look, I don't mean to be Buzz Killington, but last season with the Giants, Daniel Jones, Colts fans, was among the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. He rarely pushed the ball downfield, averaging the second fewest yards per dropback across the league. He also had the lowest touchdown percentage of any qualifying quarterback a season ago. But hey, he's your QB1, so there you go. Now, Richardson's agent, Derek Jackson, told ESPN of his client's future in Indy, quote, "We have a lot to discuss. Trust is a big factor, and that is, at best, questionable right now."
For more, we say hello to CBS NFL writer Tyler Sullivan and the two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden. Mac, run me through the thought process here. The Colts knew Richardson was a developmental project when they took him 4th overall, and now they're sort of refusing him that runway in relief of Daniel Jones, who gives them a better chance to do what in your eyes?
Compete. I think it's safe to say, guys, the patience within the organization, it has ran its course with Anthony Richardson. When you listen to the presser from head coach Shane Steichen and the things he raved about with Daniel Jones, he talked about his ability to make the appropriate line checks. He talked about his ability to understand the protection, being able to understand the blitz pickups, things like that. That's the difference. The above-the-shoulder game is what made Daniel Jones the best player for them at the quarterback position. And I don't want to go back and harp on the past, but the first preseason game, Indy on the road against the Baltimore Ravens, a simple line adjustment. Outside backer walked up on the line of scrimmage. AR never saw him. That wasn't on the offensive line. That was on the quarterback. There were so many people that highlighted that play, and they all said the same thing. That's first-day installments for a guy who is in year 3. And I think that's the patience that ran its course within the organization that said, you know what? AR is the more talented player. He has more potential. He has more upside. He's more athletic. But in terms of who do you trust the most to be able to get everyone on the same page, to get the line all together, understanding blitz pickups and things like that, it's safe to say that was Daniel Jones, and that's why they named him the starter today.
I think we have to look at this at a couple of different angles. On the one hand, everything that BMAC just said totally makes sense in terms of why the decision was Daniel Jones over Anthony Richardson for this preseason. I thought he outplayed him. BMAC's talking about the first week of the preseason. Let's look at over the weekend as well. You might look at it and say, okay, the numbers are relatively similar, but if you actually watch the game, the offense ran much smoother. I've even referenced it ran much safer with Daniel Jones than it did Anthony Richardson. Now, that throw that he made down the right sideline, Richardson did, that was called back, was jaw-dropping, a great flash of his deep ball talent, but there were also some other throws. I can remember one in particular when they were in the red area. He threw it to one intended tight end, and there were about 5 Packers all around him. So there's still that dangerous element there with Anthony Richardson that you're talking about, B-Mac. And I look at it as, yes, Anthony Richardson may give you a higher ceiling, but Daniel Jones gives you a higher floor. And that brings me to my next point here with the Indianapolis Colts. Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard are on the hot seat. These are two guys that cannot afford themselves to give Anthony Richardson that running room to develop into the quarterback that they hope he can be, a top 5 overall pick type of player. They don't have the time. They are in job preservation mode. And right now, Anthony Richardson does not give them the best chance to compete in 2025. They can't worry about 2026 and 2027 because they might not be there. So they have to go to Daniel Jones here.
I think competing for jobs and not for Super Bowls is what we're talking about here, because I want to give you the list of players that have played starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts since Andrew Luck retired. Brissett, Hoyer, Rivers, Wentz, Ryan, Ellinger, Foles, Minshew, Flacco, Richardson, and Jones. You outline those names, and Jones falls in line with these half measures at quarterback. Not necessarily looking for the franchise quarterback of the future, but just someone that can keep you relevant and help you compete. So I'll ask this next question. And Tyler, I'm going to come to you first here. Is it more likely in terms of next steps that Richardson reassumes that starting position for Indianapolis, or gets shopped for what's left of that rookie deal to a team committed to his development?
I think that what Shane Steichen said makes sense in the fact that he is one play away. So is this the last time we'll see Anthony Richardson on the field with the Indianapolis Colts? You never know for 2025. I don't know if they move him prior to the season. I don't know if they do anything like that. But I do wonder where Anthony Richardson goes from here. I think outside of a Daniel Jones injury, I think he's played his last meaningful snap for the Indianapolis Colts. I think he's a backup in 2025, and we'll see what happens in the offseason. And maybe he does go to an organization that is looking to possibly, tap into that talent that is undeniably there. It just needs time to marinate. Now, where that is and what happens, that's up for debate. I think it's very much a Justin Fields, Sam Darnold type of path that Anthony Richardson is now going on. And for the Indianapolis Colts, this is one of those scenarios that I alluded to. Even if he was with the team beyond this season, if it goes awry, I don't think that Shane Steichen, I don't think that Chris Ballard is going to be there. So you're talking about a new head coach, a new GM that is not beholden to this pick. So his future in Indy is very murky.
I'm a little more optimistic than Tyler with Anthony Richardson this season. I do think he will get an opportunity to play. It's a long, long NFL season, right? Injuries surface, sometimes inconsistent play surface as well. And I agree when you talk about Shane Steichen, I think his seat is a bit hot. So if things start to flatline in the first month and a half of the season, maybe he goes back to the more talented quarterback in Anthony Richardson. But I agree with Tyler, though, with the statement he made outside of 2025. What is the future for Anthony Richardson? I think it's safe to say in 2026, regardless of what happens this season, he may be playing elsewhere in 2026. And that might be the best case scenario for a guy like Anthony Richardson. I know you used Justin Fields as an example. No question, a change of scenery could really do wonders for him in his professional career. Get with an organization that has the patience to allow you to develop, but they also have the coaching that can pinpoint the ins and outs, that can help you be the player that led you to be a top 5 draft pick in the National Football League. And Joe, you know how I feel about this. I felt since day one, they did Anthony Richardson a disservice. The Colts organization, when they drafted him, you drafted a guy who only had 13 collegiate starts. In those 13 starts, it wasn't like he was C.J. Stroud or Jaden Daniels. He was an up and down quarterback in college. So utilize patience. They gave him the keys instantly. He didn't even have his driver's permit, but he had his license. So where do you think he's going to go? He needed time. It ran its course in Indy. I think in 2026, find a new destination, get with a coaching staff that have the patience to be able to help you develop so that potential can really be shown week in and week out throughout the NFL world.
One fall in Gainesville.